I found something that may even be borderline illegal, and I had to test it for myself, but when I saw the comment, I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, I figured it would be true once I tested it.
All right, let's see what he's talking about here. Could be some illegal activity by Activision, but I'm curious to see what he says is the illegal activity.
What the hell am I talking about? Well, let's just consult my comments section. This was very interesting, and I saw it kind of just by chance, and it led me down a rabbit hole, and yeah, you're gonna get the results of what I found here. So, Michael Jones says this. I was looking at the Steam page for BO6 and saw an interesting comment made December 13th. The game is alright. The thing I hate most about it is that the game literally doesn't close when I tell it to quit to desktop. It always keeps some task running in the background, so it seems like I have over 80 hours in the game, when in reality I have maybe 12. RIP for those who played it for less than 2 hours and wanted to return it later because it likely didn't quit, and now you have 6 hours in game.
Yeah, well, so I don't think it's inherently illegal for an application to run in the background. That's actually quite common. It can be done for like things like crash reporting or like updating and syncing data so that like when you log in, you don't have to do an update every time. It'll just do it in the background. So that in and of itself isn't illegal. But if there is this kind of thing going on where you normally can get a refund, yeah, like on Steam, if you play the game for less than 2 hours, and then the thing is keeping the application alive so that it bypasses that essentially. So it makes it where you can't get your money back. There could be some legality issues there. I mean, that's just something that should probably be there should probably be some logic implemented to okay, you can allow the background process to run, like if it's a necessary background process, but you need to make sure when the like application is inactive, let's say, you don't like log hours towards this playtime. So there definitely is an improvement that needs to be made here if that's actually happening. Because once again, I don't think it's illegal for a background process to be running on an application. But in this context, if it's like, increasing your time played when you're not even playing the game, and then that, doesn't allow you to return the game, then it's problematic. So there should be a way to like get around that to where you could have the background process running while not having it affect your time played.
I saw this and I was like, what? There's no way. Like, this has to be some sort of isolated incident. This cannot be a thing that's still going on now that we're approaching mid-January, nearly a month later after this, by the way. But I checked it out, and lo and behold, guys, it's true. I actually did the research myself because I own the game on Steam. Okay, so here's what I did. I booted up the game, and as you can see, it's here in my task manager, and you can see all the little instances of other stuff in the background.
Okay, let's take a look here. Let me remove these subtitles. Yeah, so it's a Call of Duty external crash handler. So what this is probably doing, I'm guessing, is it just reporting out, like if the game crashes or something, it's like an external process that's running that maybe reports on what happened just so they can kind of see what happened. So this in and of itself is not like an illegal thing. But yeah, if this is contributing to keeping the game open from the perspective of Steam, where they only allow you to return games if there's like a 2-hour playtime or less, there's probably something that needs to be reworked here. To once again allow this to run in the background without affecting the Steam return refund kind of logic. And for those of you that don't know, you can easily go to Task Manager, like where right here, by just like you can type it on Windows Task Manager, right? On Mac, I believe it's called, what is it, like Activity Monitor. But you can see all the processes that are running and like how much CPU, memory, disk space, et cetera, that these things are taking up. So like for example, like I'm using Streamlabs desktop to record this video. You can see that it's running, how much CPU it's taking, how much memory, et cetera, et cetera. So this is where you would go to check to see if Call of Duty is running and what it's running while the game is active or while you think it's inactive. Another good one here, like for example, Steam. Like I don't have Steam running, right? But I have a Steam client web helper process that's running on my machine. So even though I'm closed out of the application, Steam is still running. So it's not like an illegal thing that's going on, But once again, yeah, in the context
And
of
then
like dealing with payment and stuff, there's probably a better solution. Like, I mean, whether that be on Steam's end for implementing something like that allows games to have processes still running that don't contribute to the playtime, or it might be on Call of Duty, like Activision's end. I'm not really sure, like, who would have to make the improvement.
close the game and you can see it's gone from my main apps there, and yet this is still running in the background. Call of Duty external crash handler. Why in the fuck is that not closing? For one, that's pretty creepy. I've closed the game out. I've quit the game to desktop. Why in the fuck is this external crash handler still running in the background? Is this shit spyware? Is this malware? It may as well be, because there is no reason whatsoever this should.
So I'm gonna disagree here. Like, it's okay for the processes in general to be running in the background because there might just be some necessary functionality. The only thing I will say that is suspicious, or not suspicious, but I mean worrisome, I guess, is if that task that's running is related to the Ricochet anti-cheat. Like, if that process also keeps the Ricochet anti-cheat open, then that's kind of an issue, or it's just a potential concern. Because once again, the Ricochet anti-cheat is the application that has kernel level access to your computer. And for those of you, once again, who didn't see my like last previous videos, kernel level access just means like this application has access to your entire computer, like whether it be the CPU, the GPU, like the fans on your computer, all the peripherals, like your microphone, your keyboard, et cetera, et cetera. So if there was nefarious code in the anti-cheat, which they claim only runs while the application is running, then that's kind of a problematic thing if this background process is running and it keeps the kernel level software running as well. I'm not saying that's actually what's happening, but it is a potential that this background crash reporter, whatever application process that's running, is potentially keeping the Ricochet anti-cheat alive, and then that's the thing that has kernel level access. Why that is problematic is, once again, because if the code is malicious or written poorly, it can cause performance issues to your computer. Like, if it was literally malicious code, they could be spying on you and like activating your microphone or something and listening in. So you think that you closed out of the game, but in reality, they're able to pick up on mic audio input. They can turn on your camera, stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that Call of Duty Activision is doing that. I'm just saying if there was malicious code at kernel level that's always running, that's very, very dangerous. But that assumes that the code is malicious. And on the other end, once again, even if it's not malicious code, if it's like poorly written code that's at kernel level, it could still cause weird things to happen where it like fries your CPU or something, or it fries your GPU or whatever it may be. So just something to be considerate of. Now, and I'm also not saying that that process is for sure keeping open the Ricochet anti-cheat. I mean, one of the ways we can maybe test this, right? I don't have Black Ops 6 installed, but you can maybe go to see, like, when you spin up Call of Duty, obviously it's probably going to spin up the Call of Duty like application task. You could also see if Ricochet is being spun up. So if there's like a separate process for Ricochet that you could see here that is disappearing when you close out of Call of Duty, that's probably a good sign that Ricochet anti-cheat is not running when you close out of Call of Duty, which is a good thing. But if you don't see a Ricochet anti-cheat thing anywhere ever here, and it's always coupled with Call of Duty, like the Call of Duty process, then there could be some suspicion of like, hey, like, I'm closing out of Call of Duty, but that background process is still running. So does that mean Ricochet anti-cheat is still running, aka a kernel level like piece of software is still running on my machine while I think I'm closed out of the game? So I mean, we have to do more research into that one because I don't have Call of Duty. I'm not playing Black Ops 6 or installing it. So you guys can look into that one if you want.
Should remain open. Here's the thing though, this literally triggers on Steam, on my Steam app on PC, the Call of Duty is running prompt. Yes, Steam thinks the game is running.
Yeah, so this is a problem. Once again, I don't think this is more so a problem in the context of Steam for the refunds and returns. So I don't know if this is a fix that would have to be done on Call of Duty's end, or it might even be a Steam level fix where Steam needs to allow an application to have a background task running while not contributing, which maybe they already do, and maybe the people at Activision didn't implement it properly. It's just, I mean, I'm not sure because I can't see the code for Activision, Black Ops 6 or for Steam, but definitely this would need to be fixed because that's problematic.
quitting out to
And then once again, I'm just curious to know, like, if Call of Duty is still running from this perspective, does it run the Ricochet anti-cheat? That's what I want to know.
desktop because of this instance of the crash handler running in the background against your will. I'm not kidding. You can even go and like right click on where it says Call of Duty is running on your Steam app and click close out, and it's still in the fucking background running.
Okay, so if you wanted to close that out normally, I mean, sometimes stuff will auto spin up again, but you would come here, you'd right click and then hit end task. Sometimes these things though, when you end the task, it'll just spin it back up again, but sometimes it will for sure like force close out of it, and then you won't have the process running. Like I've had to do that with Discord a bunch of times where I've closed out of Discord, but like Discord was being weird and I had to literally come to the task manager and kill all of the tasks associated with it. So sometimes you kind of have to do stuff like that just for future reference if you guys ever need to force quit out of stuff.
In your task manager, you can
But once again, sometimes they have logic that'll just like spin up the service that you're trying to close down.
go check. If you have the game on Steam, you can go and do this right now. You can boot up the game, you can close it out, you can manually stop it from running on Steam, and you will still see the motherfucker running in your process.
Yeah, because like manually stopping it on Steam, once again, you're going through the Steam UI to do it, so you're just firing off logic that is like written in that, you know, in that space. You would want to bypass that by like coming directly to the task manager, like on your PC, and killing the task.
Processes.
Oops.
Anyway, Game Pass, stop it from running on Steam. Have the game on Steam. You can go and do this right now. You can boot up the game. You can close it out. The motherfucker
I'm
running.
rewinding here. I
Now,
actually
here's the
lost my
thing,
place.
guys. I'm not sure if this works the same on other platforms. We'll get to that in a second, but something tells me it does work the same on other platforms, even the ones on PC, even Battle.net and Xbox Game Pass on PC could operate just like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's interesting. Is it just through Steam? I mean, it could be just like a Steam related thing, like where the instance of the game that's written for Steam is causing this background process. I mean, you would want to check it on Mac. You could check it on like if you're not. I mean, I don't even know. Can you play Call of Duty Black Ops 6 not through Steam? If so, like he was saying, Battle.net or something, you could try to test it there to see if the game is still running in the background. Because there's probably different versions of the software written for different platforms, like if you're playing it on Steam versus another thing, so it might have different logic for how it handles those background tasks.
But see, this is a misrepresentation of the actual player counts. This is a misrepresentation of daily active users. This directly fucks with the daily active user metrics that they share with their motherfucking shareholders. So if you guys...
Yeah, that's also true. I didn't think about that. Like, so if it is if the process is enough to trick Steam into thinking the game is active, that's already bad because of the refund return thing, which is definitely something that needs to be looked into, and that could be a candidate for being borderline illegal. Two, yeah, it's affecting player numbers, because if Steam thinks you're in the game, it's going to think that you're a concurrent user in the game, which will like fluff the reporting of the numbers of our daily active users, you know? So that's also another... it's a potential for concern. So once again, I want to separate this idea that having a background process running is not illegal inherently, but due to how it's affecting like reporting of financial numbers that affect, you know, financial stakeholders, and it also affects people with the products that they've purchased and their ability to return them. That's the problem here. And then once again, the final piece is that this active software might allow for the Ricochet anti-cheat to be continuously running on your machine, which is a kernel level access process that's running. So I'm curious to see if it's also doing that as well.
Guys can, if you're still watching at this point in the video, like this video so that maybe the people that have Activision stock are made aware that the numbers are not what they actually are. They'll tout this as a bug. I fucking doubt it, man. I sincerely fucking doubt it, because it's on more than one platform. So we can already deduce that the game is doing very, very poorly with the player counts on Steam. The peak players have basically erased themselves back to pre-Black Ops 6 release levels, and the average players are about to join them. They're down nearly 50%, like nearly half the player base have left, but this isn't even accurate. It's actually worse than this. It is actually worse than what it's showing, because from my deductions here, the fact that Steam thinks the game is running factors in directly to the Steam charts data.
I mean, yeah, assumably Steam is probably using like if the game is running or not to know if there's a player playing the game like in real time. I mean, it would also depend on how Steam determines that. Like if it has an API that Call of Duty, like the Call of Duty application is allowed to hit to tell it if, hey, we're running and these are the players, but maybe it just bypasses that and only looks at Steam internal like factors such as, is the game running from Steam's perspective? So I'd be curious to know if Steam, like what type of, if they have any APIs that allow you to kind of directly interface with these numbers, or if it's just something that's out of control of Activision's control or not.
As bad as this looks, as bad as half the player base leaving looks, it's actually worse because the game isn't properly closing. We don't even know how bad it is, but my God, this has to be fucking astronomically low. It would not surprise.
Because like once again, in theory, if Steam's pulling from those numbers, like you could have a bunch of people that like they've closed out of the game and they're not playing it from their perspective, but it's still running in the background. So let's say you have like 100,000 people or something that I'm kind of bored of this game, but so they click out of it, but they don't uninstall it. And they don't go and like, kill the task in Task Manager. So all of those are going to be contributing to the numbers that are, like active players, assuming that Steam is using if the game is running or not as the metric for, getting these numbers.
Me if the average players are closer to the 68,000 there, and the peak players are even lower than that. And I'm not kidding, because people have this quote-unquote game running in the background accidentally after they close it out and go about their business. Literally the only way to physically close it out on Steam is to right-click Call of Duty and manually close it from your game list. And even that doesn't stop the creepy fucking crash handler from running in the background. This is not normal, okay? It's not. And it's a misrepresentation of daily active users. This has to be.
So I would say that most likely I would lean towards this is more of like an improvement or a bug as opposed to like an intentional, like malicious thing that is being done by them to fluff their numbers. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying that it's not, but my initial reaction is it's just a bug that needs to be fixed. And then time will tell, right? If this gets called out to them, are they going to fix it or not? Because obviously they would, hey, we can just leave this thing in there as this bug. We can leave it in there. So it's a quote unquote feature from our perspective for fluffing our numbers, right? So I'd be curious to see if they try to fix this one or not. Because it's definitely a problem. I mean, that's the biggest one to me is the problem of people not being able to refund their games. That's like a huge deal. So we'll see what they do, I guess. Time will tell.
Factored into their internal data as well, and shareholders are not going to be happy being lied to, whether it's indirect or direct, intentional or just someone being a fucking idiot. It's not right. You should not lie to your shareholders, and they are directly, straight up. According to others as well, by the way, it's the same on like console. CL Tree says same issue on Xbox, and it shows like a lot of time played there. A lot of people have said like, hey, I have to fight to close the game on console as well. And if they're doing the whole like fast turn on thing, like the quick power up thing on consoles where like your game never really closes, is that factored into the data as well, the daily active users or whatever? If so, this just seems highly illegal. Does it not? Like, I seriously see no reason why Steam charts would not count a game running on your Steam app as part of the player base actively playing the game. So that alone needs to be addressed. Like, this is not cool. It's just not cool, man.
I mean, I definitely agree that it's not cool. Whether it's legal or illegal, that's maybe a gray area. But definitely I would say because of the fact that it's causing players to not be able to do refunds and returns, that's where the legality issue might come in more so. That's like the strongest case to be made. But once again, inherently, just a background task running is not illegal. But it's definitely not cool, right? Even if it wasn't illegal, let's just say at the end of the day, if they deemed oh, that's not illegal. Like maybe you sign somewhere in some contract, like in some terms of service that, hey, the game's going to run in the background. And if you want to force close out of it, make sure you do that via your task manager. Even if there was documentation like that or like a terms of service like that, at the end of the day, it's still uncool and shady. That's like no dispute there.
Like, I could cover a lot of stuff, guys. I could cover the fact that just recently, and I don't know if I can put this in the video, but just recently, a Season 2 skin leaked from Alex, okay? I'll leave this as an Imgur link in the pinned comment or whatever, because I don't want to put it in my actual video, because they could copyright strike me for, you know, posting leaks or whatever. God knows what they could do. But the point is that this skin they released looked very familiar. And being an FPS aficionado who's been playing them for the better part of like 20, 25 years now.
Gosh, Time Shift. I haven't heard that game in a while. Wow, this is an old one, man. This game was actually pretty fun. It was like super, I feel like it was pretty niche or underground. Like I never really felt like a lot of people were playing this game, but I remember having this one. I think I have a copy of it actually. What was that one on? It was on PS3, right? Hold on, let me see if I can grab this, if I have it or not. PS3, yes I do. Yeah, look, Time Shift right there. Wow. It was a pretty fun game. You could like manipulate time and like throw these grenades that would cause like rewinding of time or freezing of time, but that's a whole side point. But all right, guys, I think I'm gonna call it there. It was a good video. Just to recap, not illegal to have a background process running inherently. Like that's not like inherently an illegal thing, but it's a little shady, potentially illegal if it's causing users to not be able to refund their game since it's like fluffing their playtime. Also very shady for how it, you know, impacts the numbers of who's playing the game. It kind of fluffs those numbers up as well. And it's just also a little interesting, or we'd have to look in deeper and see, does that background process also keep the kernel level anti-cheat running? If so, that's also extremely suspicious or kind of worrisome, because if that code is ever hacked and in a malicious manner, or they're the ones putting out the malicious code, or if it's just not written correctly and causing like performance issues, et cetera, that is just not a good thing that you would want to have constantly running on your computer. Like for those, like for me, for example, I always leave my computer on and I walk away. So if I was closed out of Call of Duty and then I thought I was closed out of it, but then there's like a kernel level thing constantly running on my machine, a little bit worrisome. Anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. Take it easy.